Thank you, Chairman Murkowski. Good morning, and I'd also like to welcome Director Kornze. Thank you for joining us today as we discuss the fiscal year 2016 budget request for the Bureau of Land Management. The lands managed by BLM in New Mexico are vital to our economic vitality and to our natural and cultural heritage. Oil and gas production, mineral extraction, renewable energy, grazing and hunting, and recreational opportunities from hiking to Class 6 rapids all can be found on BLM lands and are a part of what makes New Mexico La Tierra Encantada. I'm proud to have worked with my constituents in this administration to designate two of BLM's newest conservation units, the Organ Mountains Desert Peaks National Monument in the south and the Rio Grande del Norte National Monument in northern New Mexico. Director Kornze, I really appreciate that you came to the state personally to walk the land. We were talking about protecting you, and the BLM employees in New Mexico were so supportive and helpful to get us and work with us on these designations. And I appreciate the outreach that is taking place now to include the local communities in the planning process. Both monuments are up for increased spending in the President's budget. We'll talk about that today. I'm also glad that we'll have time to discuss oil and gas production. We hear a lot about offshore production, but federal lands are an important energy producer as well. In 2014, federal lands were responsible for 41% of U.S. coal, 40% of geothermal, 11% of domestic natural gas, and 5% of domestically produced oil. BLM also approved renewable energy projects for up to 16,000 megawatts of power. That's enough energy to take care of 4.8 million homes, and BLM provides key access to minerals, including uranium, gold, silver, potash, gypsum, and building stone, sand, and gravel. This all makes a difference to our economy, our vitality, and our security. I believe in responsible energy production and have long called for a do-it-all, do-it-right approach. Despite what its detractors may say, this administration has overseen a remarkable increase in oil development. We've seen an incredible 81% increase in production on public and tribal lands in 2014 versus 2008. Energy development is important to our economy in my state and elsewhere. But we also need to protect the environment and drinking water and make sure that the American public receives its fair share of revenue from industry's production of public resources. The Government Accountability Office has had the Interior Department's oil and gas programs on its high-risk list for many years. There are two major concerns: the BLM's lack of authority to collect inspection fees and the difficulty in hiring and retaining a skilled workforce. The President's budget once again proposes to collect $48 million from new inspection fees for onshore oil and gas producers. This would bring onshore production in line with offshore production, where Congress instituted an inspection fee in fiscal year 2012. And it would put the responsibility for paying for inspections on leaseholders, not the American taxpayer. Director Kornze, another issue is the sage grouse. I know that you have spent a good deal of time on this. I'd like to talk about the next steps with you this morning. While not on the same scale in New Mexico as we've recently dealt with the endangered species issues from the lesser prairie chicken and the sand dune lizard, listing and delisting of species by Congress goes against the intent of the Endangered Species Act. It requires that the government make these decisions based on science, not politics. I believe that in New Mexico we have created an effective model. In the case of the sand dune lizard, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service found that enough acres were enrolled voluntarily but legally binding conservation agreements for that protection to last and to take care of the species. It concluded that a listing was not warranted. For the lesser prairie chicken, Fish and Wildlife found that the significant conservation efforts were able to avoid an endangered species listing, but it was not enough to prevent a threatened listing. And the service is working closely with the states to provide maximum flexibility under the law. I believe the process is working, bringing all stakeholders in to discuss how to protect species and habitat while ensuring economic growth. So I look forward to talking with you, Director Kornze, about oil and gas, national monuments, sage-grouse conservation efforts, and other important matters. Thank you again for being here this morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, thank you very much. Chaco Canyon is critically important to my state as an incredibly rich cultural destination as well as a sacred place to the tribes of the Southwest. But as you know, Chaco Canyon is situated right in one of the most productive oil and gas production areas in the country. It appears that many new leases are getting closer to the Chaco Cultural National Historic Park, which really concerns me. Our congressional delegation, in a letter we sent yesterday, I believe you have a copy of that. It was sent to Secretary Jewell and the assistant secretaries, and what we're requesting is that the assistant secretaries take a personal look at this issue and come to New Mexico to hear the concerns of our constituents. I have a couple of questions here. One, can I get your commitment to work with me to ensure that oil and gas leasing near this iconic site are handled with the utmost consideration for the archaeological value that Chaco holds?
Absolutely, sir. I've not had the pleasure of seeing Chaco myself, but I look forward to it, and I know that this is an issue that we've been taking very seriously and will continue to work with you on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I understand there's some potential for increased production in the San Juan Basin, both for shale gas and shale oil. What is the status of the Regional Resource Management Plan, and how will it address future increased production in and around Chaco?
So right now we're operating under a plan from 2003 for the Mancos Shale area or the San Juan Basin. We initiated a new plan last year in 2014. It'll take us reasonably another 3 or 4 years to complete that plan. But in the time since 2003, there has been the revolution in shale production. And so we will address that and look at the future prospectivity and make sure that's built into our operations.
And you work through these issues in all your resource plans, I believe,
We
right?
do.
Yeah. Shifting direction here a little bit, you and I have talked about a possible proposal to merge the New Mexico and Arizona state BLM offices. As you know, I'm very skeptical of this idea. Having a state director in New Mexico focused on New Mexico's many unique public lands issues has served us well for decades. Many New Mexico stakeholders, including former bureau managers, are concerned that a merger might mean less for a state director to focus on New Mexico, and I share those concerns. What I want is for the people on the ground to have the best customer service. How can you assure us that services won't suffer? Won't there be a negative local impact?
I appreciate you raising this issue. Your priority is also my priority in making sure that we have the best customer service in the offices where we have the most contact with the public. So in the last 5 years, we've seen a reduction of 12% in BLM employees, in FTEs. That is a major reduction in our workforce. It means less public contact. It means more work falling on the shoulders of fewer people. And I'm very proud of the work that the agency does, but it really puts us in a very difficult position in terms of serving the needs of the communities that are important to you and important to us. So part of the Arizona-New Mexico concept, which no decisions have been made on, is we're looking, we kind of have to run on 2 tracks. So one is working with you. We have a budget in front of you that we think is a great blueprint for success and allows us to move in the direction of fulfilling our mission better and more fully. On the other hand, we frequently receive requests from Congress to figure out within the pie that we have, how could we run more efficiently? And so one of the tools that we have is to look within our management structure and see, are there ways where we can push more of the resources that have previously been invested there, push them to our field offices, to our district offices, so that our boots on the ground are there and that we have the people and the support for the communities that see the greatest impact, and where places where permitting gets done, where plans get done. So I look forward to working with you on this. I think a lot more conversation should take place, and I appreciate you keeping an open mind about it as we proceed.
And I couldn't agree with you more, Director Kornze. I want to work with you on this and hear all of your proposals that you lay out. I have 2 additional questions that I'll give you for the record, because I know you're preparing some things to move us down the right road here. What's your plan for stakeholder outreach in the 5 states that will be impacted by this proposal? And do you have the metrics from past efforts that demonstrate the pros and cons of this kind of consolidation? But my next question, and I'm running out of time here, is pretty quick, but New Mexico has these 2 new national monuments I talked about. And the president's budget includes $4.4 million for New Mexico's national monuments and national conservation areas, including Organ Mountains, Desert Peaks, and the Rio Grande del Norte. One of the reasons I supported creating these national monuments was to increase awareness across the country of the uniqueness of these landscapes. Have you already seen an uptick in visitors to these areas? What can you report there in terms of what's happening on the ground?
One of my favorite examples of the power of some of these protected areas is the Rio Grande del Norte. In the 1 year after designation, the local county saw a 30% uptick in room taxes. So, and they expect that was corresponded to a 40% increase in visitorship. So the local economy was very excited about that. There were a lot of businesses on board, and I think that is paying dividends for the investment that they're making in their nearby public lands.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.